The way I look at the world is in terms of mindset, self-mastery, and service or creating. And I think that our ability to create things depends on our self-mastery and our self-reliance. And our ability to master our lives depends on our awareness of ourselves and reality and understanding how the world really works.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition Podcast, an auditory journey through the latest in marketing, branding, and advertising. Now, here's your Marketing Expedition guide, Ray Allen.
On this episode of the Marketing Expedition podcast, I get to speak with Jacob Arman, and he is an artist and videographer currently studying video production at BYU Idaho. He's married to his dear wife, JennaKaye, and they have a cute dog named Addie. He enjoys reading books, discussing ideas, and learning from other people through interviews. So he has his own podcast, and I got to pod swap with him and be on his podcast as well. And he has ambitions to teach and potentially create a school one day. And how I met Jacob is they did a tour. They drove from BYU and came and sought out all of the different media places, and they went to the Capitol. They came to our place, and I shared with them about Peppershock Media and my staff kind of show and tell with them. And he asked me to be on his show. So I said, why don't we do a pod swap? And so that is what we did. So stay tuned for that. But first, it's time for your marketing essentials moment, the basics that you need to help you continue to build your brand and your bottom line. Today's topic is about TikTok shop trends and how it's exploding even more than before. We recently had a client ask us about putting together some micro content that they can use for TikTok, and in an unlikely arena of where we thought we would never go before, but we are. And so I wanted to do some research and bring you along with me as we go through the key trends that are happening more and more on TikTok and how we can use this to our client's advantage, because people are buying straight from TikTok right now in the TikTok shop. And there's all kinds of things that people are doing, like, the different types of products, or the GRWM, Get Ready With Me videos that are featuring different types of beauty products and makeup and skin care and dresses and blouses and all things that you can buy while you're watching the video, right? And so all these types of trends with home and lifestyle features, seasonal decorations, candles, bedding sets, you name it, sustainable products, user-generated content, all are rising and becoming more popular because they are the people who are using them and showcasing these products with a link to purchase right then and there. So the next time you go on a TikTok rabbit trail and you watch the videos that it automatically knows to serve up to you based on your performance of what you're watching and what kinds of things you're watching, it's going to be something that's dedicated to you, and it's going to show you the things that are what it seems to think that you want to watch. And they've got it dialed in, let me tell you. And so if you are somebody who has a product or service, some knowledge that you can share, TikTok training and learning and shopping are becoming such a big deal on this platform. Case in point, I hadn't really been on TikTok for a while, I'll admit it. But I have been just researching and understanding from a marketing perspective, what does it mean when we want to produce this micro content that can be a series of ongoing information, but also entertainment, but informative ways for people to buy the product because of what we're showing and sharing and telling? So thinking about ways that you could incorporate this into your business and how you can use the TikTok shop, whether you are a coach or a consultant, or you have a consumer product or an end user product, you name it. There are so many ways to now use the TikTok shop and promote it and be apparent. And the real key that I have learned in my research now is authenticity sells, right? You're not just trying to sell like a regular television commercial that you would see, in the Super Bowl or as an ad that you're streaming. TikTok has a way to really filter out those that are just sell, right? And people don't want to listen. They'll just skip, they'll scroll. Your goal is to take the top 3 seconds to stop the scroll and capture people's attention for things that TikTok thinks that you want to see based on what you're looking for, what you're searching for, those types of things. So it's really an interesting a new strategy that we're implementing more and more now, and thinking about how we can use the TikTok shopping feature to our advantage and how it enables brands to really showcase what they have to the TikTok community so that they can make discoveries on their own and have educated buying decisions, unlike really have we ever seen before. So thinking about how you can incorporate TikTok into your marketing strategy is something that we are recommending now. So with that said, it is time now to get into our interview. Stay tuned for that. And I can't wait to learn more with you about TikTok and all of the wonderful things that we have from our interview and guest. So if you're interested in learning more with me about TikTok, reach out to me. You can email hello@themarketingexpedition.com or on all of the socials now, including TikTok. I'm on there as a marketing boss. So come find me on TikTok. And now with that, let's get into our interview and go from there. Welcome to the Marketing Expedition podcast. I'm your host, Ray Allen. I'm the president and CEO of Peppershock Media and the founder of the Marketing Expedition community. And today's guest, we have Jacob de Arman. Did I say that right?
You did, yeah.
Okay. Well, Jacob, welcome to the show. I would love for you to just start off and share a little bit about you and what you're doing right now and where you're from.
Okay. I call myself a wantrepreneur, like a wannabe entrepreneur. I'm always trying to develop myself. The way I look at the world is in terms of mindset, self-mastery, and service or creating. And I think that our ability to create things depends on our self-mastery and our self-reliance. And our ability to master our lives depends on our awareness of ourselves and reality, and understanding how the world really works, learning those principles of success and happiness. And so I feel like I am always striving and failing, but I'm always starting a new project. And I've loved making videos since I was a little kid. I'm studying video production right now at BYU Idaho in Eastern Idaho. And I really enjoy that. It's just my playground, and I get to work with the college as well, making videos too. So that's a little bit about me. I love bringing ideas to life. I have a lot of big ideas for my ideal world. If life was like Minecraft in creative mode, I'd be doing a lot more. But I feel like I spend a lot of time just kind of getting through the day, as most of us do. But I do enjoy that time for passion projects and things.
Well, and why don't we share with people how we actually met when your class came. All this, I guess, college students, right, came. There was, I don't know how, it seemed like a couple dozen of you or more. I don't know.
There was a ton of us. Yeah. So I came to visit Boise, Idaho, where you guys are located, on a communication expedition. And they had just posted it to the school emails, and I saw it and I signed up, and we went and visited a ton of different agencies and also organizations, including the state capitol, which was really cool. But it was neat to visit Peppershock Media, and I think the thing that inspired me the most was just to see how long you guys have been running, and how it started from something small and grew up into something bigger. And I think that's pretty cool. I'm sure I asked too many questions, but I really did enjoy seeing that. It was inspirational to me, because I'm like, we really can create something big in this world if we put our minds to it.
Well, and just to give people perspective, how far away is BYU Idaho from kind of Boise Nampa area? How long did it take you to get here?
It's a at least 4 hour drive, and we woke up and left at 5 in the morning to get to our first appointment by 9:30. So that was fun.
Right. And this was just really a way to explore what other agencies and I guess communication departments do at a variety of different places, right? And so how many places did you get to tour while you were here, Jacob?
We I want to say like 14. I mean, it was a ton. We went to
Oh my gosh.
we went. I think it was at least 10, but we went to like we went to the
Hmm.
Capitol. We went to a marketing agency. We went to the state controller's office. We met our representatives that were in session during Congress, or at the state Senate. I don't really understand all those things, so forgive me if I get that wrong. And
Hmm.
we talked to a journalist, and it was all focused on communication and the role of communication in the world, and bringing
Hmm.
ideas to life, um, and how to put good messages out in the world. And I've always been interested in communication, so that was just bread and butter to me, and I just ate it up. I asked a ton of questions, um, to me, it's all about expanding my worldview, and that's what I feel like that expedition did, and that's also why I love interviewing people as well.
Excellent. So, Jacob, you have been in school now. What grade are you, or what level are you in now?
I think I'm considered a junior, uh, based on how many credits I have. I've got about a year left,
Mhm.
and then I will graduate.
So tell me what your aspirations and plans are for once you get the cap and gown and the diploma in your hand. What's next?
Oh, I really want to start. I really want to focus on my video agency. I call it Live Right Now Media, and it's not much right now except a huge collection of interviews. I've been interviewing people since I was in high school. I interviewed a ton of the teachers at my school about how life works, and pretty much every phase of my life, I've interviewed people about that phase. When I was dating, I started interviewing people about dating, and that's when I really launched it as a podcast, because I thought, there's some good insights here. And when I was preparing for marriage, I interviewed a bunch of married couples, and I've just kind of found that, in everything in life, if you want to understand it, then you ask people that have been there, that have learned those lessons of how life works that apply to all of us. I think, there's some specialized fields in the world, but there's a lot of things that, that are pretty universal. And so that's been my objective, is just to kind of learn how to find success in like relationships, productivity, and really becoming your best self and doing the most good in the world. Now that's the media part of it, and I've been studying media production
Hmm.
as well, and so I've started doing some work for clients, and that's really where it becomes a business,
Hmm.
is using those skills for other people.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like talking to people and interviewing people has turned into something that you want to continue doing beyond school, and then turning your video skills into a business, which sounds awesome. What kind of clients have you been able to work with now?
Yeah, I've had a few pretty interesting clients. It's just kind of come up randomly. Um, I just finished a video for a charity that um, goes to orphanages in, I think, Ecuador, and they just provide love and support to orphans, because they get their basic needs met, but there's not enough people to really spend time with them and give them the kind of love that they need and deserve. It's called Oso, and I did a theater ad for them that will be shown in local theaters. And that was a fun
I was
project.
just going to ask, did you get to go there, or did you just take the footage that they had or photos that they had?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to go down there, but maybe next time.
Darn. Maybe next time.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That was fun working with them. I'm really just kind of starting out, but I do get a chance to make videos on a regular basis
Mhm,
as I work with BYU Idaho, and that experience, feeds directly into my business.
mhm.
So I get to work with clients and edit and do approvals and all the things that go into bringing a piece of media content to life.
Very cool. So, Jacob, because we're going on a marketing journey, what are some of the things that you're doing in order to get yourself some new business?
Yeah, that's a great question. The biggest one is word of mouth and building relationships with people through networking. I was at a dinner once. It was actually at my grandpa's funeral, and my grandpa had done a lot of things in the world. Raised millions of dollars as a grantsman, and I promise this connects.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
one of his friends was sitting at the table with me, and he had done some big things in the world too. He started a stadium and stuff. And he said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to change the world." And he said, "But really, what do you want to do?" And and he's like, "What do you think you need to do it?" And I was like, "Money." And he's like, "No, what you need is relationships." And I
mhm,
think that the more I've learned about business, the more I see that, as my one of my teachers has said, people do business with people. It's all about building relationships. And
mhm,
I mean, I guess I would kind of turn it back on you. Have you found that to be true for yourself when it comes to getting business
mhm.
and working with clients, that relationships are a big part of that?
Absolutely. When Drew and I first started this business 20 plus years ago, it definitely was that word of mouth, somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And we also did some pro bono work and just working with kind of volunteer situations to work with other people who are also servant leaders and go givers and want to support a cause or an organization that you feel about, that you are feeling passionate about. And so we produced a couple of cause videos for some nonprofits, and then some former employees that we had worked with previously at other companies then went to go work for another company, and then they knew that we were starting the business, and so we actually got a really big client by having those associations and relationships that were from there. So it definitely helps because then it sprawls that word of mouth advertising. And so much so, in fact, we started doing events we call them word of mouth mixers, and they're a monthly event at a different venue. Different businesses hosting these each month. And the whole idea is to develop those relationships, but go beyond just the walls of the event venue, but take it outside of the event and then continue on with referrals and recommendations and ratings and rankings, and then rewarding those who give you those referrals. So definitely doing things to help accelerate word of mouth is helpful for sure. But yeah, it is about relationships, and I love that your grandpa. I mean, you get sometimes ideas in business from the most random places. Sometimes, like you can be grocery shopping and standing in the grocery store line and just striking up a conversation with somebody, and they, oh, I have a need. Or like the other day, Drew, he had to take his truck in to get an oil change, and there was a recall. So then they gave him a ride along with somebody else that also was getting their vehicle worked on, and then they struck up a conversation while they were getting a ride, and they, totally random, didn't know each other. And then it turns out she needed a logo design, and then the next week here she is getting a brand new logo created by our graphic designer here at Peppershock. So it's like sometimes you just get business from the most random places that you would never even think about it. And I guess that's probably why they call it the elevator pitch, right? When you have 30 seconds to basically pitch what it is that you do in an elevator ride. But yeah, it's true.
Well, just to go with that, I read a quote once. I think it's Henry Ford, and he said one of his principles of business is service before profit, and that you have those two elements of business: the service you offer and the profit you get as a result of that. But he said profit is only a means to the service. You pay the bills and keep the lights on, and you're able to continue to provide that service to the community. And I think when we're out there and have some skills and we have some experience, we have some value to offer, we're able to be seen that way as an asset and a service that we can provide to others. And just being in college right now, I'm just in the phase of developing my skills and getting more experience,
Mm-hmm.
but I do look forward to that kind of ideal of just being the guy that people say, I know a guy, I'll be that guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In regards to having skills to be able to, and I have some skills, and I'm able to start getting some business experience, which is great. But I think that is one of the most satisfying things in life is having something valuable to offer other people, whether it's in business or just in life in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the skills continue to develop. I mean, there will come a time where somebody needs something that you may not feel comfortable or know that you know how to do just yet. But when we're in business, we figure it out. Or we ask others who
Yeah.
know so that we can, at least be a resource or determine how we can best do the things that need to get done. And I think that that's been kind of my feeling all along is that, well, I don't know that I know, but I'm going to figure it out. And then you spend the time learning and growing because now you're getting paid to like get this done and figure out what it is that's, new. And I look back over the last 20 years, like if we would have just stayed stagnant and not figured it out, the whole social media thing came, we'd already started the business and then Facebook, came a couple years later and, being early adopters of social media and then helping other businesses get online and be in the social space. I think that really helped us be thought of as somebody that would be innovative and kind of knowledgeable of the new technologies and the new way, and like back when they call it new media. Now it's old news, but and now with all the advent of AI and all the tools that we can use for that, I think it's just staying on the leading edge of what's next and what's new is helpful. So not being afraid, not being afraid of not knowing what you're doing right off the bat. It's okay.
I love that. And I mean, that's the entrepreneur mindset. It kind of runs a little contrary to our nature in that we find what we know and we find what works for us, and we
Mhm.
just want to stay in that comfort zone.
Mhm.
Um, could I ask you what kind of helps you be comfortable with being uncomfortable and in learning new things and keeping up with new technologies?
Oh, I love that. I do that. I do say that a lot to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. So I think, I mean, obviously the podcast helps a lot because I get to interview people from all over the world who are, world-class marketers and professionals in the different platforms and just, authors and speakers. And so I love being able to ask them questions just as much as they get to ask me. But I get to learn new tools and new technologies and new acronyms. And I remember like the first time when somebody even mentioned what AI was, I'm like artificial intelligence and machine learning and all these things. I'm like, okay, tell me more, tell me more. So I think just having the curiosity and being inquisitive, and one of our core values here is to be a lifelong learner and want to continue to learn more and absorb what you can and then put it into play and see how it works, right? Just having that curiosity. And then the other thing that I think is really helpful is having some and continuing to develop critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, hypothetical, and then what's going to be actual and how can you play it out, and you know testing things out and not being afraid to break something, right? I mean, I think that that's the other thing too with entrepreneurial spirit is that we're risk takers on purpose. Like we have a reason to feel like taking a risk is okay. And sometimes people don't always have that capability to be that risk taker. They want to be in that safe space. They want to be in the, what you said, like you said, comfortable, right? They want to stay there and not really get themselves outside of themselves. And so pushing the boundaries, I think, is something I've always done. And I encourage others to do it. And sometimes, almost to the point where they are uncomfortable, but getting them to a point where they can feel confident in what they're doing because they figure something out and have that aha moment of like, oh yeah, I guess we could do it this way. Or, oh, I hadn't thought of it like that before. Let's talk through it. Let's see how we can, activate something new and fresh and different.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, and that's how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
I, I I work with disabled adults. My evening job, or
Mm-hmm.
I guess weekend job,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they're picky eaters, and you gotta take the food and put it up to their mouth, and once they start eating and they realize it's good, then they'll keep going. But before you take a bite, it's hard to want to dig in, and I feel that way sometimes with new projects or things that I haven't tried yet, especially like even learning new board games.
Mm-hmm.
I just, until I start playing it, I just have a little bit of anticipation, but then it makes sense and I learn to do it and I find success in it. And I'm like, okay, let's keep going. But have you ever, if I could ask you another question, I don't want to take all the questions, but have you ever like experienced like a failure in business and kind of lost a little bit of that fire, and then what helped you kind of get that back again and want to try again with business? Have you had an experience like that?
Oh yeah. I mean, sometimes, working with clients can be challenging, right? The expectations aren't always what you think that they are, or they think that they should be, or alignment. So overcoming some of those, I guess, challenges sometimes, and it can feel like failure when somebody's disappointed or upset about something that you've done or prepared or put together or thought was like, a brilliant plan, and then they're like, not happy with it, or not, feeling like they get the value of what they're paying for sometime, or maybe they, they just had something different in their mind that they didn't articulate well, or something just doesn't quite jive right. And so that kind of, you walk away sometimes feeling like deflated or defeated. And so yeah, what to do to get out of that
Mm-hmm.
funk? You rely on those that do that are in alignment with you, and that do love your work, and that do appreciate and value you, and don't feel like they're getting cheated or anything like that. And I love the clients that want to work with us, that value what we do and appreciate our capabilities and trust our recommendations and suggestions. And those are the best clients to have, because they're the ones that they're paying you, yes, but they're relying and leaning on you to trust you to get what needs to get done completed. And that's always a nice feeling to have. So thinking about the ones that work really, really well, and then over time you kind of start to develop a kind of a what's a red flag, like, oh no, I don't know if I want to work with them because they're going to be difficult, or they're going to be just not in alignment with what you're recommending. And so sometimes you have to work through that, and sometimes it turns out better in the end, because it's that creative challenge that you have to overcome, and the problem solving that you're overcoming to then make sure that the results are what they need to be. And yeah, so getting through that can sometimes be hard, because when you feel deflated, or you feel like um just things aren't working the way that you wish that they had or intended to be. And it happens to everybody. I don't care how brilliant you are, you're going to run into that. And I think, just reminding yourself of all the things that you can do, and have accomplished, and, thinking and focusing on the positive experiences, I think can help you to try to outweigh those that may not be as positive as you would like for them to be. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
it can be like an ongoing journey.
Yeah, I can see that connection. does seem to have a lot to do with just a sense of self-worth and a willingness to try again.
Yeah. I mean, I can think of a particular circumstance where, and it happens when, we're working with a company and doing great work. And then the people that you're working with leave the company. And then somebody new comes in and completely changes the direction and the scope and the ideas of what we, started with. And then it's like, back to the drawing board, and it's like now, and developing a new relationship all over again. And so sometimes it can be challenging when there's turnover in the company that you're working with, or even, in our company, we've had turnover before. It happens naturally, but yeah, it can be difficult to navigate that and, hope for the best outcomes, of course. But it's like, when somebody leaves, it causes a ripple effect, right?
Yeah, I can see how difficult that would be, and it totally changes. I mean, the whole dynamic, because it is a relationship,
Mhm.
and you have to build a brand new one. It's almost in a way as that almost sounds like metaphorical divorce.
Mhm.
You're breaking up a relationship that you had, and you have to create a whole new dynamic with a whole new person.
Mhm. Yeah, and sometimes it can be challenging because they have their preconceived notions and what they think that something should be, even though you're like already on a path and a plan, and then everything gets changed, and then, it has those continuation of impact beyond, even just the change in personnel. It can change an organization entirely, for sure.
Want to start a podcast but don't know where to begin? At Poderific, we don't just produce podcasts, we help you create auditory experiences that will captivate your audience. Our state-of-the-art podcast recording studio, powered by Peppershock Media, is designed for creators like you. Record with high-quality equipment supported by our expert team, and distribute your podcast across major platforms like Apple and Spotify. Whether you're launching your first episode or you're a seasoned podcaster, we got you covered. Visit Poderific.com today to learn how we can help you produce, record, and share your story with the world. Your podcast deserves to be Poderific.
So, could I ask you? I mean, I'm like just thinking it from the context of someone who's studying content creation and video production, and maybe would go into marketing in the future. What advice would you have? And I don't know how much you've already talked about this on your podcast, but what advice would you have for someone like me to get to a place kind of like where you're at right now, where you have a successful agency and you're going like, what's that journey looked like? And maybe what advice would you have for someone to take that journey successfully?
And I love that you're asking me questions, because usually I get to ask, the people. It's a different role, right? Because you're the student, and so it's kind of fun to share that. And that's always one of the questions I ask, like, what advice would you have for students, and somebody that wants to get into this industry. So what I would say to that question is, I think that perseverance and resiliency are something that you have to have innately as a person in order to be able to survive the entrepreneurial journey. Because you're going to get knocked down and you're going to get back up again, and you're going to keep going, right? If you get bucked off the horse, right, the first thing they say is just get back on that horse again and, overcome it. um, because there are going to be things that are going to come at you that you're not even thinking of or not even aware of. I mean, we survived a recession, and we reset, economic, downturn, and a pandemic, and all these things get thrown at you. And I think that the more that you can make sure that you are, you're in a position that can withstand the storms, so that you can see the rainbow at the end, right? And be able to get to that point, and don't just get knocked down every time that there might be some storm brewing or something happening, right? So that, and then the other thing I would think of too is having mentors. When we first started Peppershock, we had a advisory group, an advisory board, and it was made up of a variety of different types of people. So I had a lawyer, I had a financial planner, I had one of our clients on our advisory board. I had some really brilliant people that were super, super, super successful already. And I feel so fortunate that they were willing to just donate their time and meet with me on a regular basis, all together. And I could never get everybody all in the same room, except maybe once or twice. But I, we would have them, and we would kind of, go through our agenda of items and get advice from each of them, and just listen to what they had to say. Now, sometimes the advice wasn't always something that I took, but it gave me different perspectives from a lot of smart brains in one room, and was able to kind of glean from their mentorship and learn from them as much as I possibly could. And now, still to this day, I mean, 20 years later, I still talk to some of these advisory board members that I had. I mean, we don't do it as much anymore, but if I have an issue, or if I have a problem, or if I have a question, or I have, if I want to make another relationship and get an introduction to somebody that they know, or they'll give us a referral, those types of things. I mean, it really just paid off in dividends to having that advisory board helping my company, helping me, navigate and learn and grow. So I would say having mentors and or an advisory board, or a group of people that can come together to support you and want to see you succeed, and can even maybe sometimes knock some common sense into your brain, because I come up with wild hair ideas, and sometimes Ray, simmer down, I don't think that's going to work, or oh my gosh, that's such a great idea, and then they're like joining in on the idea. So I think mentorship, and again, lifelong learning, when we talked about, wanting to continuously learn, and continue to grow and stay on the leading edge of what's next. Those are the things that I would tell, a budding entrepreneur who wants to, start their own thing, and kind of be able to continue to do that. One last thing I would do too is, make a rainy day fund, because you never know when those curveballs are going to be thrown your way. And you never know when, like during the pandemic, we lost 75% of our business in about 3 weeks, because it was, hospitality and, tourism and restaurants and, leisure. I mean, all the things that, pandemic hit pretty hard, which then in turn hit us hard. And so I would say, have a rainy day fund. I was able to keep all of our employees employed though. So there was that, but it was hard for a little while. And it was before I knew that we were even going to get the PPP money, or the government bailout money, they call it. But, yeah, we survived the storm, a big storm that time. But yeah, those are some of the things I would caution, or just, share as far as what advice I would give to you and people like you that are wanting to go through this enduring and grueling yet satisfying process.
So why do you do it? What's your why that makes it meaningful to you and fulfilling to continue in this work?
I believe that I was put on this planet to make connections and build those relationships. And I love storytelling. And I love the fact that I can connect two people together who may not otherwise have known each other had it not been for me connecting them. I take a lot of joy and pride in being a good connector. And when I introduce people, I always say a little something about each person that I'm introducing. That way, the person that's getting introduced can kind of remember a little bit about them and who they are and what interests them. And I also try to make sure that it's meaningful. And so I always get teased around here. It's like you've heard of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Right. So a friend of mine, Tracy Stone, she's also a very good connector, and it's kind of like the 2 degrees of Ray Allen and Tracy Stone. And so everybody knows, her and I, and it's just a fun, I love that I was accused of that. That makes me happy, because I love to be on this planet to connect and make those connections. And in fact, our whole mantra is to disrupt, connect, and inspire. And when we mean disrupt, right, we're changing thought patterns. We're changing the norm. We're disrupting, their everyday lives so that we can either communicate with them through visual, whatever we can hear, say, or click on, to get people to take an action that we want them to do. We're going to inspire them to buy or inspire them to learn or, build awareness or those types of things. So disrupt, connect, and inspire.
That's powerful. And I think that, we live in a world of ideas brought to life. Like everything around us was once an idea, I would personally even say even the things in nature were once an idea and are brought to life. And I think that it's beautiful to understand how to bring ideas to life and how to use ideas to influence other people in meaningful ways. I know I've personally had some anxiety when it comes to marketing, advertising. Like who wants to be that guy, that's creating the ad that pops up and interrupts your YouTube video and stuff. But I think I'm starting to see, and maybe you can help me understand this, but I'm seeing that the process of marketing and creating content for organizations is just sharing ideas with the world. It's sharing value and trying to connect.
The storytelling. I mean, in the basic days of everything that we started, it was the what are they called? Petroglyphs on the wall, right? You're telling a story, and images are what they use to tell those stories, right? And then so everything we can hear and see, and now we click on. I say click, but because clicking came later. Back in we didn't have internet and computers back in the day, but I think everything begins with making those connections. And you're absolutely right. What your wise professor told you, that people do business with people. And, people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. And those are all, common sentiments. And it's true, because if you can connect people together for a common purpose or a common cause, or, and we're disrupting them, we're doing it because it's an ability to connect with them, because they're not going to just dismiss it, right? They're not going to think it's just white noise. And so the idea is that we're connecting them because we've been able to reach them in a meaningful way, in the right time, right place, right seat. And it's always the hard thing to do in marketing, is to make sure that everything that you're doing is making those connections happen, so that people do what you want them to do. And there's that call to action that gets them to be motivated, to want to do the behavior that you're hoping for in that connection. But you're right. It's definitely a work in progress, and marketing is not something that you can just learn and do overnight and expect results right away. It's iterative process. It's a learning process. You do some A/B testing, or you do some, what works, what doesn't work, and like sentiment scoring on a scale of 1 to 10. How likely would you be to refer this product or brand or service, or whatever the case might be? And so just continuously discovering that and understanding how much closer you can get to finding your ideal soulmate client in working with the people that you want to work with, because again, people work with people that they know, like, and trust.
I love that.
I'm going to ask you a quick question, and then you can turn
Yeah,
it
I was
back
going
on
to
me
say,
if
do
you
you
want.
have a question for me right
Yeah.
now? That's fine.
So I want to know, so you're in Eastern Idaho, and it's a small town, right? Tell me a little bit more about where you're at, and kind of the thought process. Are you going to stick around that area when you've graduated, or are you going to move to a bigger city? Tell me about kind of your situation right now.
Yeah, so we moved up here because we wanted to start our life. Like it was right after I got married. We wanted to start our life on our own, and where we had to depend on each other, and weren't too close to family, but we're close enough to be able to go visit and for holidays and things. And so after we graduate, we probably will move closer to family again, especially if we have kids and families down in Utah for us. We've also talked about going to live in Missouri because I know they have, well, I've been there. I served as a missionary for my church
Mhm.
over there in Missouri, and um, have some great friends, and it's a wonderful place, and cheap real estate as well. So
Better
um,
not say that too loud,
that's
then people will pick up on that, right? Sure.
yeah. Who knows what's considered cheap nowadays?
Awesome.
But yeah, we just want to go off on our own somewhere and start our little family after we graduate.
Now, what's your wife? Is she what is her major? What is she working on?
She's studying psychology and she wants to be a therapist.
Oh, see, marketing has some elements of behavioral, behavior patterns, and so that could be a good combination.
Yeah, for sure.
I just think it's awesome that you, wanted to move away far enough, but yet close enough. I think that that's a smart way to do it. So that way, you do have to depend on your own and kind of, yeah, it's hashtag adulting. You have to live far enough away from your parents so that you can't just lean on them all the time. But now you're leaning on each other, and I think that's a great thing. You're far enough away, but yet not too far away.
Yeah, I think it has been valuable for us. And like I was saying earlier, I kind of go through life with this mental model, and you can tell me if this sounds accurate from your experience, but that first we focus on developing our mindset and seeing things as they really are and developing an understanding of how life works. That comes through experience. And hopefully we also develop self-mastery
Mhm.
and learn to live what we know. And I think that also includes skills, valuable skills that are worth offering the world. And then we're able to go out and give our gift. And I think it's kind of an expanding sphere of influence that starts with the self, and then your marriage and family, and then the community. And I think it's wonderful to be able to have something valuable to offer the world. And of course, the world repays you then, and then you're able to feed your family, and the cycle continues. But do you have any thoughts on that model?
I think the more aware and self-aware you can be, and the more that you experience, the more that you realize how much more you need to learn that you don't already know. I think I have two young, I mean, I have a son that's he's 19, off to college. He's going to Southern Utah University and Cedar City, Utah. And I
Mhm.
think, uh, being young like that, you think you know so much, and then realizing, oh wait, maybe mom and dad did know a few things, and then I have a junior in high school, and you know he knows everything right now. I mean, he's just in that mode. He just knows it all. Like mom knows nothing now. But I think the more that they, realize and do that whole, hashtag adulting, the more that they get those experiences that they need. And yeah, I like that model and what you're wanting to achieve and uncover and discover and continue to discover, which is great. All right. Well, Jacob, I think we should probably wrap up. I have just a couple minutes left before I need to travel. But any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to share? Or, as usually I let people kind of give themselves a little plug and how they can be connected and that kind of thing. Do you have a website? Tell us more.
Yeah. So if you want to follow my podcast, it's called Live Right Now. You can just look that up on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Um, and I just love what you shared about curiosity and continuing to have an expanding understanding of how life works. And I think that's probably what will help me the most and others like me in going out into the world, especially if we go into marketing, is learning the skills to pay the bills and how to work with clients. So I just appreciate the work you do, and thanks for having me on this podcast.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. Skills pay the bills, right, Jacob? That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining me, and I'm so glad that you and your classmates got to come and tour all of what Boise, all the different communication places that you stopped by and everything, and that we got a chance to meet. So I'll go subscribe to your podcast, Live Right Now, and then we'll encourage others to go share and follow and give us reviews because that helps both of us out. So thanks for coming.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks so much, Ray.
You bet. And like I said, for those of you listening, the best thing that you can do is share and show this with others. Give us those reviews. And then go to themarketingexpedition.com/podcast, and you can listen to other episodes that we have and sign up for the Marketing Expedition community, where you can learn if you are in a place that you need to learn all about marketing and don't necessarily know a lot about it. That's where you can go to get all of the fills of all the things. So themarketingexpedition.com. And until next time, everybody, enjoy your marketing journey.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Expedition podcast. Want to continue the journey? Don't miss out on new episodes. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Wouldn't it be great if there was one place you can go to get all the latest information and tips about marketing and advertising? The Marketing Expedition community is that place. People like you gather in our online community to build relationships with others and find the latest marketing trends, tactics, tools, and technology. We help you build your brand and your bottom line. Start your adventure today. Visit themarketingexpedition.com to find out more.